Welcome to Book Banter with me, your host, Dianne Burckhardt. I hope you will join me every Wednesday as we explore all things to do with, well, books. Let's get on with our show today. Hello, my happy people. Today is October 15th, 2025, and as always, we have got another fantastic author for you. Today we have someone with some more hauntingly good reads for your Halloween season. And I don't want to waste too much time. I want to get right to it because if you're a regular listener, you can probably already tell that my voice is a little bit off because I woke up yesterday with a head cold because I cannot win for losing right now. So let's not waste any more time. Let's just get right to today's interview. Please welcome to Book Banter with Dianne Burckhardt, Tricia Copeland. If you've listened to any of my shows, you know that I always start out the same way. I just ask my guests to please tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Tricia Copeland. I am an author. I write young adult fantasy as well as new adult fade to black romance. I have 23 books, I think, now.
Wow.
I'm losing count, but obviously I'm a crazy person too. So, yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
That's a good problem to have, that you have so many books in print that you forget how many there are. One of the things, whenever I started doing research on you, I did not find a lot of information on like your educational background or what you might have done before you started publishing books. Did you just jump right into being an author?
I did. I came out of the womb at age 45 and, was able to write brilliant books at that time.
I think we all wish we could have that story.
No, I am a scientist by training, and that's my education is in genetics, microbiology. So I started my professional career in research, microbial genetics. And it's funny because I talk to so many authors. They're like, yeah, I love writing from a very young age. I always did it. I hated writing. I never liked writing. Like one time in high school, I got a negative 120 on an essay because I had so many run-ons and cut off sentences. And I didn't like
Wow.
writing until my graduate work. And my graduate professor actually taught me how to write technical writing, though, not like
Mhm.
not fiction writing by any means. So I really started to enjoy that. And then my job became technical writing. I'm a patent agent, so I do technical writing for a living now. But when I was about 40, I just started writing to entertain myself, really. I wrote a fictional account of my experience with anorexia, and it was more cathartic and kind of a healing experience, just looking back on my journey. My sister-in-law and another friend, I gave it to them to read, and they said, you should do something with this. And I thought, no, I don't know about that. And it really needed a lot of work. So the one friend I gave it to was an editor and self-published indie author. So she was my first editor, and she really helped me because it was basically written like a screenplay, all conversation. That's not how you can write a
Yeah.
book. So I've had to learn a lot. I've taken a lot of courses on plot and characters and book structure, all types of courses.
So what was it that actually made you think, okay, yeah, I want to write a fiction book? I mean, if there's so much that you had to learn, what actually pushed you to go to all of that effort?
I just love doing it. Like I love creating the characters. I loved how they played out in my brain, and it was very entertaining to me. And instead of watching Netflix or, something in the evenings, that's what I
Hmm.
did. And then I I just wanted to be better at it and get better at it because what I love to read is fantasy. So I very quickly started and I wrote my first fantasy book. My editor was like, no, this is not fantasy enough. So she made me amp it up a little bit. And that was just like getting my toes wet in the water. Drops of Sunshine was that book, which was really more urban, paranormal-esque fantasy. But yeah, so I just love doing it. And so I just kept doing it. And I wanted to learn more and get better.
Do you happen to realize how many other authors happen to be doctors and scientists? Because just this month, I have already interviewed 4 out of 8 authors that are either doctors or practicing scientists.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I never thought of myself as a creative. And when I started doing this, I was looking back at myself and thinking, where does this come from? Like, I am the least likely person to be a creative person. But when I looked at my research career and what I loved about doing the research was actually figuring out how to figure out how to get my answer. So, how did
Hmm.
you design the experiment? What experiment to do next? How can we get to the answer of this problem? And that's what really excited me in research. Not, I mean, the answer itself sometimes was exciting, but it was more arranging that experiment or that research project to be able to get the answer we needed. So, looking back on it that way, that kind of gave me a clue. Well, I guess I was always a little creative from the beginning.
You'd be a good person to ask this. One of the things that I've always wondered about with all of the people who I've talked to who have been scientists and professors and doctors that work in botany and biology and all of these different things, their day job is so analytical. There are very specific rules that govern what they do in their job. And so I always wondered if that's why they become these fantasy authors or fiction authors, because that's where they can actually let their imagination go wild with all of the information that they have.
That could be very true because it is definitely different mindset and a break for my brain in the evenings when it doesn't have to be a certain way.
Your Realm Chronicle series started with the book To Be a Fae Queen. Now, this book has already won multiple awards. What does it mean to you whenever you win a literary award, especially considering you never planned to be an author?
Super exciting. And I always feel super honored because, yeah, I never meant to do this and it just fell in my lap. And I love that people recognize that I do good work. And really, for me, part of why I love it so much, it feels very validating, but also I feel like, okay, well, somebody's recognizing that I worked hard at this and I'm doing a good job, but also I'm hoping, that gives me more of a reach. Like it helps me reach those perfect readers that are just going to love the series. And that's part of why it excites me more because being an indie author can be hard and putting
Oh, yeah.
yourself out there can be hard. So every kudos that I get, I just love because my joy is that reader that emails me and says, "Oh, I related to this," or "Oh, I related to this," or "Oh, I love this," or "Why did you do this?" So that it makes it so much, my world so much more fun for me.
Well, I would think that you probably have a fairly good fan base because just on your first book, To Be a Fae Queen, which came out in 2021, so it's been out for several years now, you have almost 1,300 ratings on Goodreads with a 4.4 out of 5. I mean, that's pretty amazing. And when you look at your standing in some of the categories that this book is listed in, even 4 years after its release, it is number 173 in teen and young adult vampire ebooks, 213 in teen and young adult vampire fiction, the print versions, and it's still up in 627 for the teen and young adult epic fantasy ebooks. And it's 4 years old.
Well, I'm really excited about that. I don't look at those very often.
That's one
So,
thing I love telling authors about this because usually they don't go back and track these things. And I look them up and I love sharing it with them.
well, thank you so much. Yes, that makes me super excited because I usually don't look at those unless I have like a sale. If I have like a 99 cent or a
Hmm.
free sale, then I'll look at them because I'll try to grab the whatever the top tw if it's in the top 10 or top 20 or something like
Yeah.
that when it goes on sale and I get a lot more sales. So that's always fun. But yeah, I love my fans. I've created a really good group of readers that do beta reading for me and do ARC reads for me. So that's really fun to have that wonderful group.
And right now you have 5 books in your Realm Chronicles, with the latest one, To Be a Fae, coming out this last July in 2025. How has your promotions been going for that one?
Really good. I love finishing a series because, well, the first series I finished in the fantasy genre, the Kingdom Journals, got a huge bump when I finished the series. And I realized for a new author, it came to me that, oh, some people wait until the series is finished until
Yeah.
they start because if they really like it, they want to be able to get the next book. So with Realm Chronicles 2 release of To Be a Fae, the finale has done that. And maybe that's why To Be a Fae Queen is also trending a little
Hmm.
bit because a lot of people say, oh, I'll go buy the first book now and the second and third, right? So
Yeah. Now, your main character, Titania, faces a lot of pressure and self-doubt as a young ruler. Does her growth in her story mirror any of your own experiences as a writer?
as a writer, I think so because I tend to be very self-critical, self-analytical, and can be a little bit, oh, do I belong here? Can I
Mhm.
really do this?
That imposter
um,
syndrome?
a little bit of imposter syndrome. Right. So starting out, especially coming from not this community and not having a degree in writing or creative writing or literature even, that is a little bit daunting for me.
Now, you aren't just a published author, you also host your own podcast, Finding the Magic Book, which has featured everyone from unknown indie authors to best-selling traditionally published authors and just about every hybrid in between. What inspired you to start your podcast?
It had sort of a funny start, but it was 2021 and we were still mostly locked down at
Mhm.
home. And there was 2020 when all the events were canceled. And really, my online family was sort of my work family and Toastmasters. I don't know if you're familiar with that organization,
Oh, yeah.
but I was in Toastmasters and trying to increase my speaking skills. And one of the projects for Toastmasters was to make a podcast. And I thought, you know what? If I do this podcast, I can talk to my author friends, we could talk about our books,
Mhm.
and we could share that with other people and promote both of us,
Yeah.
right? So I started the podcast as a Toastmasters project, and then I love doing it. I love talking to authors, finding out how their stories began, how they build their worlds, what inspires their books and their writing. And yeah, it's taken off and blossomed like I wouldn't have imagined.
Has it really connected you with your writing community the way that you had hoped?
I think it has. And definitely it's sort of when you release something on whatever platform you release it, it takes some tweaking. And so I'm still in that process. I won't say that my listenership is in the thousands, but in the
Mhm.
hundreds, and that makes me happy.
Yeah. You said that you believe that magic resides within and around each of us. How do you bring that message into your writing and into your interactions with readers?
My books are really character based. So that's how they start. Usually I have an idea for a character and some challenge that this character is facing and some part of themselves that they realize that, hey, I do have this ability or I do have this special gift in this area. And I feel like through the different themes of my book, whether it be faith or courage or inspiration or perseverance, that I want to show that these characters are learning about themselves and learning about their capabilities as the stories progress, and that we can do that for ourselves too as we go through not only from being a young adult, but every different stages of our lives. Just like with writing, we discover new abilities and new capabilities that we maybe didn't expect from ourselves. So I really try to bring that to these books and to the characters because I feel like sometimes you can't see yourself the way other people see you,
Yeah.
and that you have a lot to give in whatever areas your specialty or your passion.
You were just at a meet and greet for authors and readers recently. How did that go for you?
It was really fun. Yes, I was at Barnes and Noble here in my local town, and that was super fun. I even met like a mobile bookstore owner, and I guess I'd seen a couple of those, but I wasn't really, you can't pay attention to everything,
Yeah.
right? So I wasn't really paying attention to them that much. And I was like, I would love to go to a brewery and see a mobile book cart there.
No
So
kidding. I would love
it
that.
was super fun to meet her. She's Bristlecone Books here in Denver, Colorado. But yeah, so it was great to really connect with readers that maybe I wouldn't have met otherwise and just have them exposed to my books.
And did you meet your publicist?
I have not met him in person. He is in Canada and I am in Denver. So we have talked on the phone, had video chats, but I have not met him in person yet. I think it might happen next year. I might be going to South Dakota Book Festival next year, and he goes there every year. So
Oh, nice.
hopefully we can do that.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to meet him yet either, but I tell you what, I get so many authors from him. Sometimes I feel like I should send him flowers.
Mickey is great with Creative Edge. Yes.
Why don't you go ahead and give us a little synopsis of To Be a Fae Queen?
Okay, so in the beginning of the book, Titania, she is a princess and she is 15 years old. All four of her brothers, no, her only siblings, were killed in a battle 3 years prior to this point with this invading army of creatures called the Kobold. And when we open the book, we see her in a scene with her parents. Her mother is now catatonic, so her mother doesn't speak, hasn't spoken to them since her brothers died. All four of them died on the same day. So basically, it's her and her father kind of left in the kingdom, and her father's kind of shelters her a little bit. Princess Titania at the time has anxiety, probably from the trauma of witnessing at least one of her brothers die,
Yeah.
and panic attacks due to that. So she's pretty much sheltered, but she's also been training because she knows she's the last of her family line, learning, building her skills to one day take over rule of her kingdom. And the kobold attack again. Her and an unlikely friend decide that they need to the regular army and the people that are supposed to be stopping this aren't able to figure this out. So Titania kind of takes it upon herself to figure this out, and they are the heroes of the day. And her father decides, well, I guess you are ready to do this. Why don't you be monarch now?
Yeah.
And so she is the first female monarch in her realm. And someone from within their close friends decides, no, I don't think you should be monarch and ruler. So he challenges her, as well as she has a little kickback from all the other monarchs in her realm. So she really has to do some inner thought around, okay. And she questions herself, even though she's thought, okay, for the last 3 years, I'm going to do this. She starts, well, maybe I'm not really the best person to do this. And she really wants to make sure that she is serving her people well. And if she's not the person to do that, she wants to make that decision. But ultimately, she does decide, yes, this is what I'm meant to do. And she does become queen, and she wins against this opponent, and they support her. So it was really fun to write. I never thought I'd write fairies. I didn't know anything about fairies when I wrote this first book, and they have wings. They can lie. They don't often lie. But so they're different from fairies that you see or fae that you see in other books.
Hmm.
So that was interesting. After I wrote the book, I did all this research and was like, oh, okay, well, I hope everybody thinks this is okay.
Well, that's the great thing about fantasy, though. You can create your own world.
Right, right.
There's always people who take like the basics of the general lore or legends, but then they make it their own. And so you can always just use that as saying, I wanted to make it my own.
Yes, and I did. Yeah, I did, obviously.
So how does Titania's story arc change through your five-book series?
It was funny. I was just talking to a friend about this yesterday, and they were picking my brain. But in the beginning, she is still very much a teenager and very stubborn and quick to tell you what she thinks about that and what she thinks about things without really thinking first sometimes.
Hmm.
So you see her be a little headstrong and willful and a little stubborn and kicking back against, especially her father has definite ideas about her rule and how she should move forward. So you see her kicking back against that. And then over the arc of the story and the series, you see that she grows, definitely maturity, learns to step back and say, okay, what do I need to do in this moment? How is this best diplomatically to go about this situation? And she has definite ideas about where her fae need to be headed for the future and how they need to evolve with the changing temperament. So my fairies, even though they live in what I call Middle Earth, they live in a contemporary world. So they
Mhm.
live apart from the humans because it's physically apart from the humans, but they know the humans are there. They know the humans have cell phones and electricity, and they just choose not to use those things. But as the world is changing and humans are evolving, they kind of have to evolve too, and they haven't done that yet. So she really has a lot of ideas about how the Fae need to like come into the 21st century, so to say.
Now, this is not the only book series that you have. You also have the Kingdom Journals, Being Me and Perfect.
Right. So the Kingdom Journals is a crossover series. As I was writing the finale to the Kingdom Journals, which is Kingdom of War, I actually came up with a short story where Titania was the main character in the short story. That's how this series began. And Titania goes to help the witches in Kingdom of War in a battle that they have. So the Kingdom Journals is a YA urban fantasy series about a trinity of witches who have to come together to break this curse on the witch lines. And that's the funny series because I started out to write a vampire series because vampires are my first love in
Hmm.
fantasy, but and then it somehow it evolved into a witch series. But there are vampires in there. So yeah, so that was super fun to do. And then Being Me is my 4 book series about my experience with anorexia and recovery from anorexia. And then the Perfect series is completely a fun romance series. So it's I say new adult, but it's a clean new adult fade to black series about a group of friends who were friends in college and now have graduated from college and are making their way in the world, finding their perfect love.
That is quite an interesting collection because you have fantasy, you've got witches, you've got fae, you've got vampires, you have a personal memoir series, and then you have romance. What made you decide to go ahead and spread your work across these different kinds of genres?
Well, the Being Me series was my first series, and it is a fictionalized account of my experience. So and I knew I wanted to write fantasy. I love reading fantasy and I knew that's what I wanted to do, but it gets really heavy for me when I put my characters in danger and through a lot.
Hmm.
It gets very heavy. I take it very personally.
Oh, yeah.
um,
They're your
so
babies.
Right. So if I can stop and write like a fun romance where the worst things that can happen is somebody breaks up with you,
Yeah.
then it gives me that little rest and that quick happily ever after that is a feel good. And then I can like dive back into the darker world of my fantasy.
I know with the romance series, you had started out writing under a different name for that one.
Well, I started out as Tricia Copeland, and then my Perfect series, the first 2 books are now under Tricia Copeland. I'm about to change that and rebrand the whole thing under Maria Jane, which is, I mean, I guess some people say, no, it's just better to keep the same pen name. And some people say, no, it's better to have another pen name. So I did take on the Maria Jane pen name for my romances, and that Perfect Romance series will be rebranded under all 4 books under that name. So yeah, I think it's sometimes good to have that different brand. If they only like romance, they're going to go for those Maria Jane books. And if they only like fantasy, then they can read Tricia Copeland.
I've spoken to so many different authors that most of us want to write in different genres. We don't just want to write, it's like my first ones was historical fiction. I don't just want to write historical fiction. It's like, yeah, I had fun writing that, but I want to write an FBI thriller series. I want to write a romance. I want to write my memoir. But a lot of times, whenever readers get into a series that you've done and they really love it, they don't want you to write other stuff. They're like, why aren't you writing me more of these? But if you do that underneath different pen names, you kind of save yourself having to have those discussions.
Right. But it gets hard though, because I did try to like do several different Instagram accounts and it was
Mhm.
like, oh no, never mind. This is too hard.
Yeah.
And I do have my newsletter parsed out a little bit where, my romance readers will get news about romance books and my fantasy readers will get news about fantasy books. But I do want them to know about my other books too, just because I like reading like different genres. So
Mhm.
sometimes you do have crossover readers too. So.
Oh, yeah. I think that you're going to have two schools of thought. There's the ones who they always read the same genre. They love horror, they read horror forever. Then there's other people, they'll read whatever. It's like, I know personally, I read fiction, I read nonfiction, I read horror, I read sci-fi. I mean, I read anything that's good.
I read most things. So horror, I don't read horror. That's the only thing I don't read.
Now seems like the perfect time to do our 5 quick questions that never turn out to be quick, but I hold out eternal hope it will happen one day. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Question 1. If you could spend one day with any of your characters, who would it be?
Oh, it would definitely have to be Titania. If she could give me the power to fly around her world, that would be perfect.
Question 2. With Halloween coming upon us soon, what is your favorite scary movie?
Oh, my favorite scary movie. Can I say Twilight? Um,
Yeah,
okay. I don't get that scary, but
it's
that's
not
about
scary,
as
but it's a
scary as it
vampire
gets.
story, so
It's
it
a vampire
works.
story. It's Halloween adjacent.
Yes, absolutely. It works. Now, is that your favorite vampire movie?
Oh my goodness. I name a favorite vampire movie? Well, I love Bram Stoker's vampire movies. I love all the vampire series. I just love all of them. So
Mhm.
I don't know if I can pick a favorite.
Question 3. If you could bring one element from your Fae world into your world, what would it be?
I think it would just be the simplicity. Like every once in a while, I'm like, oh, well, it's really good that we have cell phones because they make your life so much easier. Like I
Hmm.
can't even remember. It didn't seem that hard when we didn't, but we didn't know any different, right?
Yeah,
But
true.
sometimes I feel like I'd like to unplug, just be.
Yeah, I remember those days when I left the house without a cell phone and didn't even think about it. And now, if I leave the house without my cell phone, it's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Like the same thing you did when you were 16 and didn't have one yet because they hadn't been invented.
Right? You're gonna go where you're gonna go and you're gonna come back and it's gonna be fine.
I think the only big difference is back then there were payphones everywhere. So if you needed to make a call, you could. Now
That
you have
is
to stop
true.
saying it to somebody on the street and go, can I borrow your phone?
They're like, no, you're weird. You
Yeah.
can't.
So question 4. What's a book you wish that you could experience again for the first time?
Oh, wow. So many of them.
You can say Twilight. Go ahead.
No, no, I've read that several times and yeah, I tried reading it a third time and I just didn't need to. So, but maybe, yeah, if I could experience it for the first time, I might pick that. So, yeah, but no, yeah, I can't. So, yeah, I think I might pick that.
That's one of those things. Like I have books that I've probably read this one book by Tanith Lee. It's called Silver Medal Lover. I've probably read that thing 20 or more times. I absolutely adore this book, and it makes me cry every single time. And I am not a crier, but that book gets me. If I could read that thing again for the first time, that would be amazing.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think I've read any book 20 times. Definitely not. Wow.
So now for your last question, I'm asking every author the same thing this year because I'm creating a database to put in our year-end book buying guide of recommendations from authors to readers. So if somebody came up and asked you, who is an author that I should absolutely read? Who's the first author you think of?
In fantasy, I will say, oh, well, Emily Henry crossed over too to fantasy. So I might say her. A Million Junes is maybe the best book I've ever read. And maybe I should put that on. I wish I could read that again for the first time. Um, love Emily Henry's Million Junes. Most of her work is romance, which I really like her romance works too, but that book, so many good things in it. So I'm gonna say Emily Henry, and she's kind of a crossover author now.
And that's something I'm gonna have to look up. I'm not familiar with her work.
Oh, very good. And yeah, I was very surprised by A Million Junes because it's a YA fantasy, and I didn't realize she wrote that, but I only read her romances first, and then I cried most of the way through A Million Junes. So,
Oh,
but I'm
wow.
a crier too, so I don't know if
Well, see,
that's
yeah,
any
but if you
indication.
cried almost all the way through and you're a crier, it makes me wonder if it would get me too.
Yeah, but I lost my sister a couple years ago, and they
Mhm.
have family loss in one of the characters, so I think that was part of it too.
What is next for you? Are you working on anything at the moment?
I am. Working on a new romance. I think it's going to be titled Perfect Secrets. So it's another friend in this friend group. I have two of those started, but that one's further along, so I think that one's going to come out first. It is with Elle, or formerly known as Ella in the World. And then I also have a short fantasy coming out in a new magazine at the first of the year. I think it's going to be called The Arcane Quill or The Arcane. It's a new fantasy magazine, so I'll have a short story with one of my characters that is in to be a fae. So that's a lot of fun.
Do you have any idea when you might have the next book in the Perfect series out for publication?
I am thinking it's going to be next May, so May of 2026.
And now let's remind everybody who you are and where they can find your work.
Right. I'm Tricia Copeland, author, and my website is triciacopeland.com, TRICIACOPELAND.com. And you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. My podcast is wide on all the channels, Finding the Magic Book Podcast. And that is me.
And of course, we're going to have all of your information in the description of today's podcast, as well as on our website at burkhartbooks.com/podcast. And we will have live links to all of your information and your podcast so that everybody can just click and go and easily find you and buy your books.
Thank you.
This has been absolutely fabulous. I love your whole collection, and your covers are amazing. I'm always checking out cover art because I used to do graphic design, so I'm a real nerd that I will sit there and go, oh, I know that font and I know that styling. And
Well, thank you.
your covers are fantastic.
Yes, Shower Smith Designs in the UK has done my covers for the Realm Chronicles series. And then I have a local cover designer who has done the rest.
They do very good work.
They do. Her graphic name is Damn Cool Graphics, but her last
Nice.
name is McCool. So it's kind of a play on that, but she does great
I
work.
think it's the ink and incarnation. That one's my favorite. I love the way that she did that
Oh,
one.
yes, the anthology did a great job with that cover. Yes, it's really pretty.
Thank you again for taking the time with me today. This has been wonderful, and I hope whenever you get your next book ready to go in your romance series, we can bring you back for that one too.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much, Diane.
So there you have it, folks, my incredible interview with the wonderful Tricia Copeland. Be sure to go check out all of her information and look at her books. She has so many wonderful series that I'm sure there's something that will appeal to everyone. Now, next week, we're going to be talking with DC insider and thriller author Chad Boudreau. He's going to be on the show talking about his latest thriller, Homecoming Queen. If you like fast-paced thrillers with unique plot lines and page-turning storytelling, this may be an author that you're going to want to check out. I'm going to go ahead and cut things off short today because I'm losing my voice. And I'll just catch you up on all the things with Burckhardt Books and Book Banter Magazine next week after Chad's episode. We do have a lot of things that are coming up, including more Book Banter magazines and other wonderful things that I hope to give you more details about next week. If you are curious as to what's been going on with my little broken leg saga, I did have another MRI last Monday and saw the orthopedic doctor on Friday, and I have 2 more weeks of bed rest, so I guess this cold comes at the right time. I'm already in bed, why not have a cold now too, right? Just get everything over with at once. But I will let you all know about all the other things that are coming up next week after we talk to Chad. So now you know what time it is, folks. It's time for you all to go forth and do your very best to be really happy.